The reason why I wanted to go over that session with Shaggy, first off, I know he's a very open-minded, very like wanting to learn North American player. But secondly, his mindset is exactly why I'm not saying this is toxic mindset. The way he views the game currently is exactly why NA has so much inactivity, why so many games are just stagnant and nothing happens in the game. Because it has to be the strongest guy in the team that just dictates everything.
Banana slam jam.
I'm gonna be constructive, but you know, I figured you usually ask to submit these, so I might as well be in the spirit of giving.
Nice
and
for me, yeah.
I think you struggle when you're like the strongest hero in the game. I think your choice of where to play when you're the strongest hero in the game is the problem. I think getting to that point is pretty good by you, but it's like as the mid laner, there's just a decent portion of games where you can just do whatever the fuck you want in the game, and so we already talked a bit about that other game on the Faceless Void, but I just want to talk to you about this game, like what your hero can do in this type of game. So I think a lot has to do with your teammates, like what your teammates' heroes are. I don't think it has as much to do with what hero you are as it does with the allies you have on your team. So let me, because like remember how when I talked to you about the Void game, it was the reason why your map positioning was wrong was because you had a Nature's Prophet on your team, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about this game too. So I think when you were talking to me that you said your like mid-game rotations could use some work, and that's what you felt like was a limiting factor for you. I think understanding your allied heroes is like really important. So let me. So we're gonna fast forward a bit. I actually need to see something in this game first before I know what happened here. Okay, so by the way, it's like really important here that you like fucking scream into your mic. Invoker has bottom rune. Invoker has bottom rune. I like whatever that means. I'm gonna go sit underneath my tower.
I honestly thought it was like insanely unlikely that he would rotate bottom because it's exort.
So by the 80% chance that he doesn't rotate, your communication is effectively whatever, right? It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And if by the 20% chance that he does rotate, I don't die. Right.
Okay.
So that's like one thing about communication. It's a fair point that you don't think he's gonna rotate, but like I think with communication, it's really important to have this mindset of okay, if he comes back mid, does that matter for anything? No, it doesn't matter, right? Like he got the rune, he's gonna come back mid. If he doesn't go mid, that matters to your team. So communicating any possibility that the opponent could make that could affect your teammates is really important. Like even if you don't know for sure, like in EU, I'm telling you in EU, like I won't once have a rune like that where the guy mid didn't. I know I'm flaming NA a lot, guys in chat and everything, but it really never happened in EU for like a month and a half where like the guy would have a rune and my teammate just said nothing. So it's like there was a huge amount of communication, a huge amount of priority on runes, just in general, and they would always say stuff like, "Hey, Invoker has 6-minute rune. It's not invis." Like, that's the kind of shit they'll say, because, you know, you had the invis rune, so you know it's not invis. Because it's like, for me, if he has a DD or a haste, that's absolutely something he would rotate with. But it's accounting for what they could do, rather than thinking what they should or will do, is the big thing there. So I'm done rehashing that point. That was the major one early, but I just need to find the point in the game that I was talking about here. Okay, so you're Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's middle tower is under destruction. I just want to let you know. I know you know like you're not supposed to die and shit. Those type of deaths are like really fucking bad. Like it's a death where you, in my opinion, you shouldn't ever really die in the first maybe 15 minutes unless we're taking a massive team fight and you know you go in and trade your life for 2 heroes, right? I don't think other than that. Like, they'd have to be grouped up as, like, 3 or 4. So, it's just important that some deaths are, like, whatever, and then other deaths are super impactful. So, the reason why I had a bit of an issue at this point in the game was, like, do you know what Beastmaster does as a hero? Like, I'm not saying, you know, do you know what his abilities are? Do you know, like, how he likes to play? I actually, you know, I didn't really know.
You take the bottom tower, and then you, like, walk towards mid if you're winning.
Yeah, okay. So... Usually the way that looks right is that I'm not really the one that's mid usually. I'm the one that's bottom pushing it, and then I look to come mid and capitalize on somebody else rotating. So
Yeah.
it felt awkward this game because past this point especially, you kept going bottom. So for me, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go share farm with my Ember. There's no point in me being in the same lane as him. And so I end up just shifting to mid, and we end up staying in this orientation for a very long time. The difference would be, to be honest, in this game, since you're so strong, I really think it's the same idea as the Void game, where you can be wherever you want. I think, like, maybe some places are not ideal for you, some other places would be better. But since you're strong enough and survivable enough, like you were literally just killing their Medusa, right here. So
Yeah.
you can play wherever you want. So at that point, whenever I think I can play wherever I want, I just think, what's the most aggressive move I can make, and process of elimination of where I think my teammates are going to play. So it's like, do you have a dead lane defending hero? Like, do we have a hero that's going to defend our safe lane tower?
I mean, honestly, I can do it.
Yeah, but nobody else on our team does it. Like, nobody
Yeah.
else on our team likes doing it. So for me, the way I look at this game is I could go top. Like, that's what I'm thinking as like a strong move. But then I see Void there, right? I'm like, okay, I don't need to go top, right? But I immediately look at my teammates' lineup and I say, well, Beastmaster by default, he's going to play bottom. Void can kind of just play wherever. He's going to probably play off map for most of the game. And then Pugna CM, to be honest, those heroes don't particularly make plays on their own. They're kind of just going to play off of you and I. So in terms of map movements, I would say it's pretty much my hero this game. But like every game, it's going to be different, right? Like I can't tell you it's always going to be my hero. But there are heroes in the game that have a specific way they want to play the map, and then other heroes that kind of just, fill in the gaps. But I do look at this and say, if this was like a Wyvern support or like a Phoenix support, then they're probably going to play predominantly top, and it's maybe best that I invade the jungle and maybe look to counterplay the opponent diving top. But in this case, I'm trying to make sure you can apply this as much to other games as possible. In this case, we're against a lineup that has really no tower push, right? Like, yeah, we're kind of losing, but at this point in the game, I feel like it's kind of awkward, but the game's like close. Like, this is how I feel about the game right now. So in this case, since they have no building pressure, if you're going to pressure, what's it going to be based off of? Like, when are you pressuring their towers? Sorry, their towers. When are you pressuring their towers?
Like when we have Chrono.
When we have Chrono and when I'm there, right? Like, that's probably the two pieces. At least me, Chrono makes it much more likely, right? So that's how I like to think here, because I'm like, okay, I'm really strong. If we're going for an objective, then it's going to be mid, because that's you literally told me that, so you do know that. It's going to be mid, it's going to be Beastmaster rotating through, and most likely with Chrono. So if that situation isn't happening, then we're not pressuring objectives, right? Like, if I'm bottom or whatever, it's not happening. So at that point, since I'm super fucking strong and I know that we're not pressuring objectives, the only thing left in the book is what the opponent would do. So that's top, right? So in my thought is, if a single engagement goes on top, or if somebody has to push out top, it's you, right? Like you should be at literally every single engagement top, and without any exceptions. And like the way I look at the skill gap between you and going to like the next level, because you tend to do very well in lane, and your team fight mechanics, from what I've seen, are pretty solid. So it's like there has to be something missing, right? And you agree it's you said yourself it's these rotations. So
Yeah.
they're like, okay, there's really no objective for me to be pressuring. It's not really my job this game. So I'm just gonna shut the fuck down any move that the opponent tries to make, like, instantly. And that needs to be in your mind, because it's like you're not reacting at that point. It's just instinct. You're like, okay, I know I can just shut down anything they do. So the second I see them doing something, which is probably top, maybe mid, I'm just gonna be there instantly and crush it. So this point, whatever this death, you can figure it out. I don't mind that you're playing this half of the map, but ideally you would be what I'm doing, and I would be what you're doing, where maybe
Why does that make a difference?
Because if I try to defend this tower, this is what happens.
I see.
You see, like, my hero just innately functions worse defending a tower than it does pressuring a lane. right?
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the times when you think about this to yourself, it's like in the other game, I could be farming their woods as Nature's Prophet, and you could be farming the triangle. Effectively, we're getting the same amount of gold on the map. But if they go on me in their woods, I die and you're not there in time. If they go on you, you have Aegis, I TP in and we kill them all, right? So it's like the same idea, but each hero functions better in the other orientation, right? So
Okay.
this
Yeah.
is the little things that really dictate like high level movements, and it's like at, for example, Secret, the best team in the world, I think they do this like way better than literally anyone else in the world. Like they bring the exact number of heroes that need to pressure a tower. Each player is like exactly where they're supposed to be in regards to this idea. It's much easier said than done. I think I have a pretty good understanding of it, but obviously there's a huge difference between me and the likes of someone on Secret. But the idea is that this is the kind of stuff that they do every single game constantly that is making them just look like they're outmaneuvering the opponent. So it's all about like efficiency of use of each team's heroes, and like it also helps you with drafting. By the way, like when you're thinking about what hero you want to pick last or whatever, thinking like, okay, Beastmaster's gonna play bottom, Void's gonna play top and off map maybe, and then I need a hero that like Pugnacium. They don't really push lanes. Like when I say push lanes, they're not going to be the one that's like pushing and rotating. That's not the type of supports they are. There are supports that do that. So it's like if at this point, I think you're a hero that's supposed to push lanes and rotate, right? Like that's what your hero should do for the team. And that you did pick a hero that does that, right? Like so, great. There's a decent amount of options there. But so right here is where the game gets awkward for me from my perspective, because I actually flamed you live in this game right here. I see this engagement going on top. You should see this shit and be like, what the fuck is that team doing? And just instantly TP top and crush this shit. Like, this should get squashed. And if you TP, I TP. Because if you think about it from my perspective... Okay, I want to think of... how do I word this? So it's like... From my perspective as a Beastmaster, who should go to this fight first? You or me?
That should definitely be me.
Yeah, it should definitely be you. So, like, from my perspective, I'm like... I'll go to this if Ember goes. But then if you don't go, I'm just not going to go. Like, that's how this ends up happening here. So it's like this awkward thing where I'm just sitting on these Ancients because I've realized already being back that there's a lot of points in the game where I'm like, well, I'm waiting for my teammate to do X, so once he does that, I'll react. Because like in EU, what happens is they fight so much and they play around objectives so much more. And a lot of it has to do with each player understanding their role in the game better. So it's like, I'm trying to instill this mindset into a lot of players in NA, and like I think it's quite simple. When I say simple, I mean if you start thinking about it in a matter of a month or two, you'll be way better at it. So it's like, okay, so since I'm more likely to go to this fight than Beastmaster, if I don't go, Beastmaster's not going. If I do go, suddenly the Beastmaster's going to show up too, probably. But it's like it's strictly worse for me to go first here than it is for you. And it's just because of how strong you are. And we already kind of talked about if you can play wherever you want, since we aren't pressuring objectives, your hero's not the one to pressure objectives. Say you're like a Jug. Maybe you're supposed to play bottom and do this. And then if I was like the enabler, like if Beastmaster to Jug, I would say if a Jug would not go to the fight if Beastmaster doesn't, because Beastmaster is going to be the guy that stuns them, and then the Jug can TP in and kill the people that get stunned. But like, you see what I'm saying, right? Like in the order of priority of what heroes go where. Sorry, I know.
Yeah, I should definitely TP first.
Yeah, like so for me, I was like, is my Ember gonna go? Is he gonna go? Like that's what I was saying, and I didn't know it was you at the time. So you end up going, but I really think I want this perspective to shift. So I know exactly what you're thinking, okay? I know exactly what you're fucking thinking. You're thinking that. Yeah, I hope I'm right. Are you ready for me to hopefully read your mind here, Shaggy?
Sure, go ahead.
You're thinking, wow, I'm getting all this free farm in the bottom lane, and even though there's an engagement top, the opponent's technically getting nothing out of it, so if I just keep farming here as long as I possibly can, I'm going to be max efficiency while they're trying to do stuff top. Is that about correct there, or am I way off?
Not really.
Not really off or not really correct?
Not really correct.
Okay, what are you thinking then?
I don't remember.
Well, then you're not thinking.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the slaughter. Like I wasn't thinking about anything.
What do you mean you were thinking about the slaughter?
Like, I don't know. I was thinking I could chase the slaughter and kill him.
No, I'm not talking right now. I'm talking about when you were bottom.
Oh yeah. Bottom, I was thinking what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. Like right now you're thinking, well, I see they're in engagement top and they're not getting an objective. You were thinking that, right, when you're right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a perspective that I think all of NA shares. Okay. It's actually the worst perspective because I, up until maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I shared this exact sentiment. Okay. So at some point, I realized this is how you have to think about it. You're thinking, how can I least impact my own efficiency in order to, while participating in fights? So that's your perspective. Like, that's how I used to think too. Instead, think, if you shut down that move top, what does the opponent get? Like, what is left on the map for them if you shut down that move top?
The triangle, maybe?
Like, pretty much, because maybe they'll TP one guy bottom, and then if we just sweep back bottom, suddenly they're corralled here. Like, they're literally going to be stuck in their triangle the second that move is shut down, right? So it's like, even if nothing fucking happens top when you TP in, if you TP in and it's like worst case scenario, nothing happens, best case scenario, you get some kills, either way, they're stuck retreating, going back to their own triangle. So it's like, your one move to just squash this aggression that they're exhibiting here is like, they're just fucked. Like, there's so many times where I'll be in EU and I'll be making this move when we're behind, and then the opponent would just 5-man defend their tower, and I'm like, now what? And I realize as the team that's in their spot, since they're either stuck farming the triangle or they're stuck ramming their heads into this tower. And that's why in EU, you see literally 5-on-5s in the safe lane tower for like 3 minutes straight. Like, you just see a 5-on-5 and you're like, what the fuck? Why are we fighting for 3 minutes in a row in our own safe lane? And it all starts with this guy in the mid lane, or like whoever the strong guy on the team is. Sometimes it's the carry, sometimes it's the mid laner or whatever. It all starts with him making that move. So I literally played last game, right? And the opponent was just losing. The opponent was literally just losing. And I was like, okay, so they have a Terrorblade, and if they want to come back in this game, the pretty standard move is to take our safe lane tower. So I saw the Legion and like one other hero showing bottom, and I'm like, okay, guys, we got to bring 3 or 4 heroes to defend this tower, and, I'll be ready to TP. So we instantly TP 2 heroes in, and are you following me? I know this is like an audio book.
Yeah.
Okay, so we TP in 2 heroes here, and it just turns out that the Terrorblade's doing jack all and just farming his triangle, okay? And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm back in, I guess I'm back here where there's nothing really happens in these games. Like, people aren't making moves. The one move that's good for them, the Terrorblade, like, the only way he can get space on the map is to go hit a building. Like, that's the only thing he can do, and it wasn't like a terrible early game Terrorblade game or whatever. It's not like he was far behind. He had a decent lane, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm preparing for, like, the one objective that's good for them to take, and then they just don't take it. And it's like, a lot of people would think, oh, BSJ, that's, like, inefficient to TP 2 heroes to your own safe lane and all that shit. But it turns out we're accounting for the one good move the opponent could make, and if they don't make it, they're literally doing nothing, and they're just losing the game. Like, it's like, oh. So it's like, in this case, I know it may see... Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I have one question. So,
Yeah.
So I'm the strong hero, right? And then if I TP top, doesn't that just give them their entire jungle back?
Well, no, the thing is, right, you see this big of an investment top. So, like, they have Undying dead, and you already see 2 heroes there. You might see purple, but I know you already see 2 heroes here. What ends up happening is you TP here, and then if they all leave, then we leave 1 hero top. Say we can literally leave a support there, okay? Like, just pushing out the lane. And then suddenly, if, say, Pugna's the only one left top, okay? And you, who just TP top, just literally walks towards bottom. Like, you just walk there. Or this is the moment where we would just smoke all the way across the map, and maybe they'd get 1 creep wave, 1 jungle camp, and we just run all the way back, and and suddenly they're corralled into their triangle in a matter of 45 seconds. Like, it's 1 move. So you're right that you're, like, taking yourself off the map here, for literally 1 move right here. But that's why teams will do this, and then they'll just immediately sweep. You can watch Secret do this shit all the time, where, like, if the opponent backs off too many heroes, they'll literally leave a support, and the other 3 cores will just walk to another lane and effectively shut down everything. Like, you just take the entire... You just do a quick... Can I draw here? Let me... You just do... you can't draw in... Oh, I'm on player perspective, maybe.
Alright, it's fine. I get the idea.
Yeah,
but you
said
that I should, like, predominantly play top, right?
You should... Like, so... the idea of you playing top, right, is because we talked about you having no objective to play around. Like, you don't have an enemy objective to take for you to think about. So since you're super strong, and I think you know that,
Yep.
it's just like in the Void game, your first response was, I can play wherever the fuck I want, so I played our triangle. It's like, first recognition is that. And so it's like, the reason why you're playing top is because, whole dead lane meme, it is the idea. Like, the first tower they're going to go for is top and mid, right? So with mid down, top is their objective. So the reason why you're playing top is because there's no objective for you to play on the opponent team. And so if you're strong, your strength will be exhibited in counterplaying the opponent. Does that...
Okay.
That's a pretty formulaic system there, where like if you're either playing for your own objectives or you're playing against the others. And it's like, if you're strong, then you play towards whatever you think that is. If you're weak, you'll play away from it, right? Like, and dodge it. So say this Void didn't want to participate in fights right now, the last place on the map he should ever be is top. Like, that's the last place he should ever be, right? He could be bottom with me pushing the tower or farming behind me or whatever. But if I have heroes that are sitting top and I'm the Ember, I'm like, okay, I'm fucking going. And if they're not there, I would at least try to like push out the wave and rim it back. At that point, so let's think about this, right? The two options are, if they're going to push top, then we either fight them straight up, right? We just like bring 3, 4, 5 heroes and just shut it down. Or you stall them as long as possible, and by the time they finally get the tower, bottom lane's already pushed in by me. I've rotated towards mid. You've probably been pushing mid. So then by the time they get top tower, mid lane's pushed in. You're pushing it in. I'm at mid tower. And then they have to like scramble to defend this tower, right? Like, that's the other option. So I always emphasize, even like, this is like a 3K concept, but for you, it's a much higher level of applying it, is it's either directly defend this tower. So like you said, you could just push out the wave. It could be you defending it. So it's like, if you see heroes here on your own team, it's like, okay, we're going to fight them. I'm going to come here to fight them. If all of your heroes have just ditched, like if your Faceless Void is just gone, your Pugna is just gone from this area, then you're in the mode of maybe stall out one creep wave and then pressure mid. Because that's the objective we would pressure. I assure you, if I see 4 heroes here and I think I'm capable of pressuring mid, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that's why it's so much better that I'm bottom and you're mid, because I can't out-pressure Medusa and Invoker when they're just pushing mid. I can't actually stop them from pushing mid on my hero. Does that all make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the big part of the game I wanted to talk about, because these decisions only get harder as the game goes on, right? Because more and more factors. But this is the point where like I keep seeing for you, is if we can think more and more about where my own teammates want to play and where you can play in return. I want to make sure, because I obviously don't coach many people at the higher level, because I'm also going to be coaching teams. Did I sound condescending to you?
Not really.
Okay. I just don't want it to sound like I'm talking down to you guys, but I also know that it's hard to ingrain this in someone's mind, because it took me fucking 3 years to realize it. So, okay. Thanks, man.
Right.
Hope you got something out of that.
Yeah.
See ya. So, like, the reason why I wanted to go over that session with Shaggy, first off, I know he's a very open-minded, very, like, wanting to learn North American player. But secondly, his mindset is exactly why, I'm not saying this is toxic mindset, the way he views the game currently is exactly why NA has so much inactivity, why so many games are just stagnant and nothing happens in the game. Because it has to be the strongest guy in the team that just dictates everything. And it has to be. And it's going to be different people at different points in the game. It's like, if I'm a Beastmaster and I'm strong enough to pressure a tower and I just hit creeps, nothing in the game's going to happen, right? That's the idea. If I'm the strongest hero and I'm supposed to kill a tower and I don't, nothing's going to happen. If the Ember's the strongest hero in the game and that means he's supposed to fight them, then if he doesn't go, nothing's going to happen. Like, that's how Dota is. So it's this mindset of like, if I'm the strongest hero in the game, how do I make shit happen, and where's that shit going to happen? Is it defensive? Is it aggressive? Is it counterplay? Is it, is it us initiating? And I think for Shaggy, if he can get this mindset down, he'll be a way better fucking player. Because I know he's capable of it, and I know he's willing to be. And I think it's the major issue in North America. It's all about, like, how can we play for our own game rather than enabling our teammates. And I think enabling your teammates at the end of the day is just better. Like, it's strictly better. And it's not in a way that, like, he's sacrificing himself for the game. He's literally just shutting down the opponent in their face. And meanwhile, the opponent's going to, like, lose a bottom tower to a Beastmaster, or, like, lose a mid tower to a Beastmaster. Or I'm just going to show up if they overcommit onto him and kill them all, right? I want you guys to be clear. I'm not insulting NA's way of playing as a way to, like, bring down the region. I'm talking about it in a way that's, like, trying to be helpful. But at the end of the day, you know, maybe some people are probably going to take it the wrong way.